Welcome to today's eESI podcast. Our issue, workplace safety, and our special guest, Robert Ramirez, a risk control consultant for eEmployer Solutions South Texas region. Robert is an active member of the National Safety Council with extensive experience in commercial insurance and risk management in the trucking and oil and gas industries. Robert previously held the position of Texas HSC manager for the largest independent wireline company in North America, leading his organization to a record 1,257 days of zero lost time. Welcome, Robert.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to get started by talking about our subject, the three most common workplace safety risks. Why don't you tell us what they are?
Well, the three most common, and I would say the most cited as well, would be driving, material handling and back safety, as well as slip, trips, and falls.
For today's podcast, let's focus on driving-related accidents. How prevalent are they, and what should small business owners know about the risks?
Well, I'd say that the leading cause of fatalities in the workplace are due to driving or motor vehicle incidents. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, 38% is actually the overall number for 2017. That comes out to roughly about 2 out of every 5 deaths in the workplace due to a motor vehicle incident.
So you're saying that 38% of the fatalities that occur at work are because of driving issues. How costly is that to an employer?
According to OSHA.gov, the average cost to an employer is about $16,500 for just property damage. If the crash involves an injury to their employee, they're looking around the range of $74,000. And this could jump all the way up to about $500,000 if there's a fatality involved in this vehicle incident.
What's causing those fatalities, and what can companies do about that?
If you asked me this question 10 years ago, it would have definitely been driving while eating. You got the drive-through. It's very easy, and for those who are pressed for time, they easily go through that drive-through and decide that they can eat while they're driving, and that was a big distraction about 10 years ago. In this day and age, everyone has a cell phone, and talking and texting and other electronic devices inside the vehicle are the primary areas of distraction for motor vehicle drivers.
What can a small business owner do to limit the number of incidents, driving incidents with their employees?
Well, for those that are not driving a commercial motor vehicle that are actually governed by driver logs, the regular commuter vehicles, what I would do, or we would recommend, is for a small business employer to incorporate some type of awareness, either system or calendar, that you can use company-wide to notify the employees that the commuter is actually in commute, that they are making their rounds, going from point A to point B. And this would minimize the amount of phone calls that are sent to them, messages, text messages, things that would distract them with their cell phone.
For those that are commercial drivers, especially here in Texas with the oil and gas industry, but other industries as well, what are some things that they can do that would help prevent incidents?
For those who haven't invested in the hands-free CB radios, that would be my first recommendation to them. Taking everything to hands-free is actually the way to go. If in the event they do have to communicate with side drivers or back to the dispatch house, it is by far the best thing they can do in real time, is changing that. The other thing is actually incorporating more of a stop work authority culture within the organization. We can't take the cell phones away from them, nor we can take the electronic logs, but if in the event that they do need to respond to a call or respond to an email from either home base or a dispatcher, without being penalized, they can safely pull over their unit and actually respond to those items and then get back on the road safely.
These seem like reasonably simple steps small business owners can take to help prevent driving-related fatalities and accidents. But I know there are other important steps you introduce in your workplace safety training programs at eESI that are quite effective. Without getting into those steps here, I'm picking up that most driving-related work fatalities and accidents are preventable. You have some stories of your own about driving issues that could have been prevented. Tell us about that.
To start that story off, I'd like to state that I am from Houston, born and raised, and only driven in Houston basically my whole life. And there we haven't experienced any harsh weather. A lot of humid, a lot of hot, no snow, hardly any sleet. But I was recruited to actually work up in North Dakota at this time. And early in one morning, we were convoying to drop off some equipment at a certain site. And being that I didn't have a lot of experience in driving, they put me at the back of the convoy. Now, about 4 or 5 miles outside of our camp, I quickly experienced what they call black ice in a small point of this 2-lane road. And I hit this black ice. They call it black ice because you can't really see it. And those who are properly trained on it know that it is in low-lying areas where there's a lot of moisture and cold or extreme weather. Well, I hit this black ice and I ended up rolling the 18-wheeler 2 times. Well, I was very fortunate not to have sustained any injuries with this incident, but this is something that I could have easily been trained on. And it was as easy as someone saying, hey, when it's this cold outside, slow down, watch your brakes. You might hit some black ice. It was something that easy. Someone could have just raised the awareness to me. But this was an instance where I was directly impacted. I no longer wanted to drive again, and we lost a truck.
Well, glad you survived that accident without injury, Robert. And thank you for sharing your insights and suggestions for preventing workplace driving accidents and fatalities on today's podcast. For those of you listening to today's podcast, workplace accidents and fatalities, as you've heard today, are in most cases preventable. In order to help you prevent workplace driving incidents, we've prepared a free driver safety sheet you can download and post at your company. To get your copy, simply fill in your name and address and click the download button at the bottom of today's podcast. And if you really want to protect your employees, your company, and create a safer work environment, eESI's workplace safety training programs may be your answer. These programs provide important steps and training that will take your company to a whole new level in workplace safety and help ensure you don't experience many of the preventable accidents that can overwhelm a small or mid-sized business. To learn more about eESI's workplace safety training program, simply call 210-495-1171 and ask for a risk management specialist. That's 210-495-1171 or email risk@eesipeo.com. That's risk@eesipeo.com. Or simply fill out the brief form at the bottom of this podcast landing page and request a call from one of our risk management consultants. The initial call is free. Thank you for listening to today's eESI podcast and our guest, Robert Ramirez. Until next time, stay safe and think safety.